Let me introduce the panel. First off, is a activist from the great state of Mississippi. He is the founder of Building Bridges for Community, Unity, and Progress. He is also an activist, Mr. Marquell Bridges. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, next we have our lovely woman from the great state of Arkansas. She is Councilwoman.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Miss Elizabeth Darden. Thank you for joining us today. He is a podcaster, activist. He is co-founder of the nonprofit organization Hope 929, and he is also the uncle of Mr. George Floyd. Welcome to the show, Mr. Selwyn Jones. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us.
Andre, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to be here, but I must check you, Mr. Andre. You can call me Uncle Selwyn. You mess my name up like everybody do, man. So
all right.
I am pleased to be here with this wonderful cast of young warriors, man. This is what we do, man. Let's get it on.
Okay. So thank you for joining. I'm very happy to see all of you again. I have had the pleasure of meeting each of you, not for a joyous occasion necessarily, but definitely a monumental one. I'm a little overcome, so excuse me if I'm a little emotional, because each episode of when I've met you all has brought me closer to victory for my own son. But to be able to speak with you guys who are leaders, you're fighters, on a stage that just to approach it is difficult in and of itself. So I don't know what to say. I want to give you guys this opportunity, though, to talk to us, to inform the audience of what you do, the work that you're doing for the community, the work that you're doing for the nation. Let's just be honest about it. And how you all are lighting a fire for truth and justice in America that we've never seen before. And I'm just blessed and honored and humbled to have you in my presence. Thank you. Mr. Bridges, would you like to kick this off with us today? Can you tell us about like who you are and what brought you to this point where you are right now?
Got you. First of all, thank you for having me. Wonderful introduction. I second and echo your message of we wasn't brought together by tragedy brought us together, but love keeps us there. That's what I like to say, and definitely we become family in this fight for justice. But I'm a grassroots organizer from Mississippi. I'm in the Building Bridges for Community, Unity, and Progress, an organization surrounded around impacted families, just being a resource. When I began to notice this horrific state-sanctioned violence that was going on within our community, I also began to notice that no one was helping these families. I began to follow up and do my own independent research and say, even when the cop was charged, they were never convicted. There were never any results. It was always one narrative, which was the police and the media narrative. So I began to question, well, what is the families saying about this? How do they feel? What do they say happened to their loved one? So I began to seek out these families, tell their story, which we don't have any Black media, so it was nobody telling those stories. So I began to tell those stories. I began to advocate. As we all know, it's definitely groundbreaking work. So a learn as you go, so to speak, because there's no one who came before you or a blueprint. You can just look up and say, this is the right thing to do. They murdered all of our leaders, the Martin Luther King, the Malcolm X's, the Marcus Garvey. So we don't have a blueprint to look at to say, this is what you do. So it was a great learning curve, but I began to seek out these families, help them, and just wanted to be a resource. Like, if they didn't have attorneys, well, let's help them get those. If they need help raising awareness, how do we do that? How do we use our platforms? How do we use our social media? How do we use that God gave us to help these families? And that's what I began to do. And God has just blessed my path, where we're starting to see results. Often where we travel, the main thing you see is the lack of community support. for these cases, for these families. So with building bridges and building grassroots, we are that support system. You know, we've vowed that we are going to travel. You don't have to go in and pander and beg the community to stand with you. Other impacted families, other people, other activists and organizers are going to come from wherever they are to stand with you and to support you and to be the community that we need. And it's been a beautiful thing. I've met some wonderful, wonderful people in adversity, and we're beginning to see accountability all across the country where the state-sanctioned violence is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think that you hit on a lot of stuff that we're definitely going to dive into. Miss Darden, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to be here. You talk about it's an honor for us, but it's an honor for me. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed meeting you and being in your presence in Massachusetts a few weeks ago. Your story touched me and refueled my fire to keep going. You know, I was born and raised in a community where I saw a lot at a young age when it comes to the type of work that Mr. Bridges was just talking about within the injustices, witnessing injustice unfold. And I left Anchorage, Alaska, attended the most diverse high school. And then 12 years ago, I moved to Harrison, Arkansas, that's known as the most racist town in the nation. I'm raising mixed children. I had a fear because I heard the headquarters of the KKK was nearby. At the time, I was a single mother and, you know, overcoming a lot and wanted to move forward. I became an educator. I wanted to help bridge the gaps in understanding and express other people's experiences aside from those in this community. It's now a predominantly white community. And my experiences raising my children here had been nothing but positive until recently. And I'll get into that. But I wanted to just shift the narrative because in my eyes, this town has been falsely labeled because of the headquarters of the KKK being a louder voice for so long. And it's just like many other towns in the South, you know, there's a lot of healing that has been done and still continues to do, but it's like, how will racial reconciliation occur when intolerable treatment continues to occur because of the systemic gaps? And so just wanting to, what started with a desire to shift the narrative here expanded tremendously. You know, I got involved with the Task Force on Race Relations, created community building events, partnered with the Martin Luther King Commission. And one of the events I organized, I won an award for outstanding volunteer. And I got up on the stage and I spoke, and we had a surprise guest there. And that surprise guest just happened to be the uncle of George Floyd. And we had peaceful protest here in Harrison in 2020. And as a mother, a white woman raising culturally mixed children, I had to be a voice for them, because who's going to speak for them when they're being called a monkey, which they have been lately, you know, who's going to speak for them when they're being called, you know, I firsthand won't ever know firsthand what it's like to have to be followed in the store because I'm viewed as a threat because of the color of my skin, or get pulled over and fear my life because of the color of my skin, because I understand there's a privilege that I have. But it's important to me to be a voice for my children, but also my friends and my family. And so that's how it started. But when I met Uncle Selwyn and I spoke on that stage and I got off the stage, I gave him a fist bump. And a week later, I called him and he put me on a conference call with impacted mothers like yourself, Miss Vicky. And that changed the trajectory of my whole career path. You know, went into this voluntarily with Uncle Selwyn to help lift the voices. So we co-posted and co-produced Setting It Straight with Selwyn so that people could utilize a grand platform, a world platform. And then we expanded. I was like, we're doing a lot of talking. We need to implement tools and solutions. So we co-founded Hope 929, an organization to help historically marginalized groups with 4 foundational pillars. And like Mr. Bridges had touched on, there's such a need to speak out on the injustices, but it's such an opportunity to come together as a collective and see the changes unfold. So, but thank you so much for having me here.
Last but not least, this is still our introductions. Uncle Selwyn.
It's what they said. It's what they said. It's what they said. Both of them described it absolutely to the T. I woke up one day and as I live in South Dakota where there's no people that look like us. And every time I would see a young man on television of color getting just tortured and killed and murdered and disrespected and humiliated, I'd be madder than heck. I own a motel, so people would come to the motel, Marquell, and I'd be like, there ain't no rooms free today. You can't stay here. Madder than heck, man. And one day, I woke up, and that young man that was getting killed was my nephew. And from that day, I went from sitting outside a motel watching my little 8-year-old ride his go-kart to watching my big sister's baby boy do everything they told him to do, and they murdered them in the middle of the street. And those 3 days after that changed my life and 7.5 billion other people's lives. I ain't asked for this job. I did not ask for this job. I was fine watching my baby ride his go-kart, teach them how to play football. And in that moment, everything that I've ever seen or heard, anybody that ever disrespected me, because I'm a funny looking black dude in my late 50s and I got freckles. So coming from down south, I got beat up by white folks and black folks and green folks and whoever, because I was poor, I stuttered, and I looked funny. So I've been getting it since day one, man. And I see all of those things come before my eyes. And something just came over me and said, I'm going to do what I can to make this stop. My nephew wasn't naive. Everybody has problems. Everybody has complications. But when you see people that are getting murdered for running down the street, when you see people that are getting killed for wearing a hoodie on, that means a lot to me because I am a man and a black man and a human being. So I reckon my journey is a lot different than everybody else's. Everybody else is fighting for a specific reason. I'm fighting to be free. I'm fighting to be free from the systemic racism, the systemic hate, the systemic killing of our people by a certain group of people, whether they're black, blue, green, or yellow. We can go to Tyrese Nichols. So I'm not blaming nobody. The system that was made bothers me because it was a system created for us to fail and for us to go through numerous torturous situations before. As Marquell said, the Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther Kings, the Huey Newtons, and all these guys had passed, and most of them came by a vicious death. Well, there's an Uncle Selwyn, and I'm going to fight till I can't fight no more, but meet people like Marquell and having Liz, to walk beside me, gives a different perspective. And then Marquell and Andre, I went to Boston, Massachusetts, and I was at a low. You know how you plateau, then you come back down and you get even. And I met this incredible human being that told me, I'm not going to talk to you right now because I have to feel you. I don't know if I can talk to you right now because I don't hug people. I don't know if I can talk to you because I haven't heard the words. Ever since I have came from Boston, Massachusetts, on the 15th or 16th of December, I have another sister. I have another warriorette. I have another general. I have Vicki Willis that I can call my friend, my soulmate, my spiritual goddess. And every day, to look at me and Liz looked into this lady's eyes. And we've seen thousands of people contact me on Setting It Straight with Selwyn, because there's a certain emotional thing that I have that I can give people. And we looked in her eyes and, we go up and get in the elevator. And she says, wow, did you feel that? And I was like, I don't know. The margaritas was really good, but, I felt something there, And she's like, no, did you feel that vibe from Vicky Willis? And I looked into her eyes. I have menopause. I will cry anytime, shape, or form. I don't have the power to hold. Don't, Marquell, you need to have menopause too. Andre too. Don't be laughing at Uncle Phil. But I looked into her eyes and she was talking about altruism, and something came over me and I had a rejuvenation of life, of spirit to fight this battle. And man, let me tell you, Boston was way different than any other place I've ever went. I came home, excuse me, I came home ready to fight, ready to go. And then I met Marquell. So I call them quasars. All the quasars are lining up, Andre, and they're lining up to make something beautiful so we can create change, so we can create salvation for people. And I know that this question was on your list. Am I a humanitarian? Yes, I am. I'm not a politician. I don't deal with groups. I deal with people. I want to make the people change. And the only way that we have to do that or can do that is communicate, conversate, motivate, and educate. And that's the introduction of Uncle Self. Hey, dude.
Yeah, I got it. All right, so let's dive into all of us have had some experience at the grassroots level. So Mr. Marquell, explain to us, what can we do? What can the average ordinary citizen do?
That's a great question. So first, I'm gonna start with just what the average Black person or any decent human being. I'm like Uncle Selman. I don't really like to break it down into race, even though we know this is a problem we've been facing for a very, very long time. And the start of policing comes from slave catching.
Slave patrol.
But once they put on that uniform and become blue, it doesn't matter if they're Black, white, whatever. They're blue, and they're gonna protect each other and lie for each other and protect this corrupt system. So what I'll say is, any decent human being, what you can do first. God has given us a blessing, which is social media, which is a phone, that all of this information is at your fingertips. So if you don't know something in today's time, it's because you don't want to know. So first, do your research. Second, once you do become informed and informed correctly, use your platform to tell these stories, such as Miss Vicky and her what she went through with her son, and all of these other cases. You can spread awareness using your own platforms and just share, and that's a big help. Second, you can be boots on the ground. We know everyone won't be boots on the ground, but for those who are not afraid, who understand protesting rights, to where you can't be boots on the ground, or you don't really understand social media, then there's a lot of organizations who's out here doing the work that you can donate to, such as Hope 29 and grassroots organizations that's doing. So it's a lot of different ways to play your part. No matter what role you play, phone calls, emails to these people. It's something that everybody, no matter your physical stature or your financial stature, that you can be doing to help advocate and stop this police state sanctioned violence.
Thank you, Mr. Marquell. I appreciate it. Ms. Darden, I noticed that I was listening to you when you were saying about your sons and having to try to protect them and their health and well-being. If you could you go into that, expound on that a little bit as to your experience and how do you talk to your sons about handling an encounter with the police or anybody for that matter?
Right. In the Black community, but it should be across the board at this point. The talk that you're referring to, keep your hands on the tenant to, yes, sir, the respect, look them in the eye, however it might be. But there's that curriculum should be in place on how we're supposed to interact with the police in general across the board, because you're seeing police brutality occurrences no matter what skin tone, right? But as a mother, as you were talking, as you were asking me the question, it reminded me of the time in 2020 when I was marching, leading the march, holding a sign. It says, "When do our sons stop being seen as cute and start being seen as a threat?" That's a legitimate statement, a legitimate concern, because, you know, my son's 12 now. He's taller than me. He looks older, you know, and if he's wearing a hoodie, he's a threat all of a sudden when he's walking in the store. He's a thief. He has to watch his back when he's running in the street. It's not right because of the way our system has been set up, you know, what they see in the media, stereotypes, discrimination. I have talks. I'm very open with my son. I take them, I keep them as a part of the conversation as much as possible. I took them on a civil rights tour. We went to the Lorraine Hotel where Martin Luther King was shot, went to the 16th Street Baptist where the bombing was, and then we went to Selma and Kamala Harris was there. We marched for the 57th Jubilee across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And I think it's just important to not only just have them read the books, watch documentaries, but go see history firsthand. You know, my father kind of passed the torch to me. He was born into an aristocratic family, was supposed to be the golden child, but pretty much raised by the help, the woman in the outbuilding, the Black woman. And he didn't like the way she was treated. He wasn't allowed to play with the kids, but he did anyway. And outside of high school, he became a freedom fighter in Biloxi, Mississippi. He came in encounter with the vice president of the NAACP and was like, and he told my dad, he's like, "Watch out, if they catch you, they're going to do you worse than they do us because you're an end lover," you know. And he saw him 8 years later at a organized event for Vietnam that my dad was helping to organize. And he's like, "I see they didn't catch you," you know. And so my dad raised me with the beliefs, instilling the beliefs, you know, it's important to stand in solidarity with those who've been oppressed. And now that it's kind of come full circle as a mother raising culturally mixed children, I just want them to be aware of the discrepancies within our society. So that's just a little bit about why I do what I do.
I'm crazy. I'm absolutely crazy, man. Straight up, G. I've been crazy my whole life. The police stopped me. It's like, what do you want? What'd I do? You know, I ain't trying to hear that crap, man. This shit didn't happen to me. I've been Black for 57 years, coming from the country, North Carolina, on a tobacco farm. They would play with us during the summer when we went to school. You didn't know me. And I'm like, yo, man, you can't see. You know what I'm saying? It's the same boy that you were playing mud pies with. You know what I'm saying? So I got a different dynamic. And my dynamic is this. I've been living in the airport. I've been coming to this little town I live in for 25 years. We had, I don't know, my mother-in-law had 8,000 acres of land. We owned a motel and 4 or 5 houses. So I've been eating pretty good. I could miss a couple Happy Meals any day now. You know what I mean? So I've always lived a certain way. I've always negotiated people for what they were. I sold vacuum cleaners for a living for 25 years, man. I sold 3 Black people vacuum cleaners in 25 years. So can you imagine how many folks' house I went into that would probably shoot me if I came there at the dark without something in my hand? So I had to negotiate them. And I woke up on May the 26th, and May the 26th, we live in a town of 1,200 people. All those people, I've sold 400 vacuum cleaners in my town. I'm outgoing. I'm an extrovert, man. I'll stop by your house and ask if I can rake your yard to get in your house and send your vacuum. You know what I'm saying? Old folks, I'm toting groceries in, you know. I didn't get in the house and sell them a vacuum, get that money. All of it stopped on May the 26th because they told me that I needed to go back to Africa because somebody murdered my nephew. They told me that I didn't have a right to say anything in this town because somebody murdered my nephew. I can't go to any establishment in town. I have to drive 20 miles to get gas. My wife's first cousin owns the store 500 feet across the street from my motel. I haven't been in that store in 4 years. In 4 years. And do you think I give one good hoot? Absolutely not. You didn't deserve my money. You said that ends, you know, they steal and they sell dope and stuff. Guess what, man? I don't know about them, but I ain't never sold nothing. I'm out experimenting with something, but you know what? I love Apple Crown. I used to. Now I'm off that stuff now, man. I'm healthy as a horse. But I reckon the point I'm trying to make is this, man, is It doesn't matter who or what you are. People are always going to have this thought process of you because of the color of your skin. I don't give a hoot, man. I really don't, because I've met so many people that didn't have a voice because they were victims. When they kill your relative, they don't give a damn about you. They don't care nothing about you. I know people that have died because of the stress level that they were put upon. They lost their job, they lost their house, they lost everything trying to protect theirs. And you know, man, I got an opportunity to protect them all because George Perry Floyd Jr. with my sister, Larcenia Floyd. She was number 6 in a line of 17. I'm the baby boy. And I promise George Floyd, my sister, and my mother, and I'm a little long in the tooth, Marquell. I got an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old partner, and I'm gonna be that age real soon, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to the upper room, 16. And I had to promise them that I would take care of them. Not only take care of my babies, but your babies and everybody's babies, man. Because they say this is the home of the brave and the land of the free. Well, they need to change that brave and that free thing, because we ain't been free ever. And not only are Black people not free, there's a lot of Caucasian people under that economic level that ain't free. So it's an equal opportunity racism situation going on now. If you don't have money, your religion, your sexual orientation, how you look, how tall. So these are a combination of a lot of things that I fight for, man. You know, and will I ever have enough? Will I ever make enough change? Absolutely not. Until me, you, and Vic, Andre, and Miss Vicky, and Uncle Selwyn go to heaven, and we let these young tenderonies like Marquell and Liz fight this battle for us, that's when our change is going to come. So what we're doing is we're putting some big seeds in some buckets. And these young cats are going to have to be the one to help them sprout up, man. But I'm sure going to do my part, man, because it's funny. I got a certain type of vehicle. And it's got them 22s on them, Marquell. It's got them lights that run right down the back of that. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? That big lamp, baby. She's shining, you know. The brother got to keep the wheels nice. I pull up beside the parking lot. I pull up beside this old girl. She was having a Pinto. Andre, Vicky, y'all know what the Pinto is. I'm telling our age what the Pinto is. And she's sitting in the car, and I pull up back, and I park beside her. And she look over there, and she clutches a purse, and she reaches over. They don't do it like in those 78 Chevette, man. I'm telling you right now, a Pinto. So she put that on the door like that. My youngin said, Daddy, what's she pushing on the door? That's how she locking it down. And my wife was like, Miles, don't say that to her. So I waited there till she got out. And when she got out, I walked past her, and I was like, ma'am, hopefully I didn't scratch that car with my door in my truck, you know, just making sure there won't no damage done. So it don't matter what they are and who they are. They have it. A lot of people feel like they have an entitlement because of skin tone. And that bothers me more than anything in the world. How could one hate someone because of the color of your skin or what you believe? Because I thought we were all supposed to be children of God. There ain't no hate in heaven, I heard. Well, guess what? There's going to be a lot of people get the kick outside because there's hate in a lot of people's minds. And they go to church every day and they preach and they swear that their way is the right way. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Their way is the right way. So we're just trying to make a little change, and we're trying to show people not white is right, not Black is right. We're all human beings. We all come here for a very short period of time. Why not make the biggest impact we can, man, before we leave? Because we got a lot of work to do, kids.
That's right, we do, Uncle Selwyn. And if you don't mind if I chime in really quick, I really like what Mr. Bridges said, responding to Andre's question about what can the average citizen do. You know, he had a great answer, but the main thing is, if you see something, to say something. You know, silence only perpetuates the issues.
Make an attempt.
Yeah. And if you're just going to continue to stay silent on these matters because it doesn't directly impact you yet, it could potentially in the future. And usually that's when people get involved, when it's already too late. That's why it's so important to show compassion, show empathy, and be open to hearing the concerns of others, of what they're facing, what their experiences are.
Let me ask you this. How many of us on this line could watch a man beat a woman in our presence and not say something or not do something?
No, I'm gonna say something.
I'm gonna do something. I actually wanna chime into what Ms. Darden said, what Liz said. She raised a very valid point of when do our children become threats? So if you look at the youngest case, Tamir Rice was 12 years old when he became a threat. So it stuck out to me because you said your son is 12. So this would be the moment where people stop looking at him as a child and look at him as a threat, a thug.
He's almost 6 foot tall. If you're a black man of any kind of stature, Eric Gardner, George Floyd, that's intimidation. Selwyn Jones, 6'3", intimidation. The only problem that I have is I've had too many concussions, and you're not going to talk to me any way that I don't want to be talked to. Kenny Rogers said you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. I ain't got no rabbit in me. If I got to cease and desist, I shall. But I have the freedom of speech to the point of them getting tired of hearing that. So I've always invoked my freedom of speech. And it's sad because a lot of people lose these battles because they don't know how to fight. And they don't have anybody to fight. It's like, I'm going to call somebody's name out on the line, Vicki Willis. Vicki Willis is going to fight till the damn day she dies. But guess what? With Marquell Bridges, Liz Darden, and Uncle Selwyn, I promised her, by hook or crook, somehow or another, we're going to get her baby's case open and brought because there's too many discrepancies in there. There's too many young men dying. Wow. Behind bars, while incarcerated, while in booking. And there's no way that they can hide that because these facilities have cameras. We just got to figure out the right way to get that video to us, and we can change a lot of wrongs in people's lives. Take away a lot of hurt. I always say, Andre, there's an empty chair for 2 people on this board at Christmas. They will always be empty. George Floyd will never walk his daughter down there. Al Tariq will never see his son get married or graduate high school. So that's what we have to live. That's what I want to stop.
Mr. Bridges, can you please? Thank you, Uncle Selwyn. Thank you. I'm hearing you. Don't think I'm not. I wanted to allow Mr. Bridges the opportunity to tell us about the case that you have going on with those police officers who've been indicted, because that's
big time.
I'm not supposed to be cussing right now, but that's Fucking.
Hey, I'm Christian, girl. I'm Christian. Lord, please forgive her.
We can edit that out, but that's phenomenal.
Andre.
Definitely. First, what you said, Uncle Selwyn, you raised another valid point. I don't know if your audience understands that they have deemed the black statue as enough to be killed. You know, I don't have to have a weapon. I'm 6'6", 200 and some pounds. I don't have to have a weapon for the police to shoot me. My statue, my size is they made that illegal. So they made the black man statue illegal, and because they fear you, they can kill you and get away with it. But just to get in, I just wanted to share that. But just to get into the case, which we've had a lot of victories here of late, thank God. But Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker, two young black men who did nothing more, but one of them was dating a young Caucasian lady, and they were visiting her house when 6 all-white officers kicked in the door, no search warrant, no reason to be there. They kicked in the door. From the time they kicked in the door, they began to beat and tase Michael. Eddie Parker was in the back. When he walked up to the front, they immediately started torturing and beating him. They handcuffed both men upon entry, beat them, tased them over 30 times. This is off the redacted report that you can see. tased them over 30 times, waterboarded them with the stuff in the kitchen, milk, alcohol, anything they could find. And then before they left, they kneeled both men down, but they stuck the gun in Michael's mouth and shot him. We have secured all 6 of those officers have pled guilty to federal and state charges with no video. I met the mom. What we was talking about, what should we do? I got out my bed. The moment I heard about the stories, it's crazy. It always stick to me because there wasn't even an article in the paper. They never released that they shot someone or anything had happened this day. I drove to Jackson. I took his mother and father, I think it was Applebee's or somewhere, just to hear the story from them. Because it was kind of, I ain't even gonna lie, I deal with this a lot, but what I just told you is hard to hear if you don't just necessarily believe that the police handcuffed people and shot them in the mouth. So I went to hear for myself. And in fact, everything she had told me was true. I began to advocate on my social media platforms, and every single thing she told me ended up being true. I took her and his father, Mr. Melvin Jenkins, to the hospital where they wasn't even allowing him to see. This is the most traumatizing thing of this whole situation. So imagine, and I left out the part where the 6 officers sexually assaulted both men. So imagine after all of this happened, your tongue being shot off, and you wake up handcuffed to the bed with looking at the same officers who just did that to you. I tossed and turned. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't rest. I just kept wondering, like, what would be going through my mind if that happened to me? And I can't physically speak, but I'm handcuffed to the bed, looking at the people who did it to me. The amount of trauma already on top of trauma, but psychological damage that would do to me. I just kept wondering, like, what is Michael thinking? What was he thinking in that moment? And that pushed me to go. So we went to the hospital and showed that UMMC and the Rankin County Sheriff Department was denying the family access to Michael. They couldn't see him. They couldn't go in. So when we did that, I did a live. So the next day they allowed the mother and father to see him. The DOJ stepped in like 2 days later. We found the family attorney, which is Malik Shabazz, and just been advocating every step of the way. So it's a historic victory. We have another historic victory with Miss Mona Harden, Ronald Green's mother. Her fight, which I didn't start the fight from the beginning, but I was blessed to come in at the right time and begin to advocate. But I always want to give their family credit for not believing the lies. They told them for the first year and a half that her son had died in the car wreck. And in fact, 5 Louisiana state troopers had beat him, tased him, kneeled on him, stepped on him, dragged him, all while he was hand and feet shackled, face down, killing him. And she secured the first 5 indictments ever of any officer in the state of Louisiana since 1812. Also in Decatur, Alabama, with Standing in Power, a local organizing group, and just the whole community of Decatur, they have secured an actual murder charge on the officer who killed Steve Perkins in his own yard. So for 2023, we're beginning to see accountability. We know this is the beginning. Ms. Vicky asked me in the beginning before everybody jumped on what I like to be called. I never like to be called an activist because when you think of activists, they come in, rile stuff up, or advocate and leave. I never leave. I like to consider myself a completionist because we stay with a family until justice or till they say, hey, I don't want to fight. So we go through every court date. Every step of the way means every step of the way. So this fight's just beginning. We have to pack out these courtrooms. We have to ensure that they see that these people were loved, that these people are cared about, and the lies and the narratives they put out about them are just untrue. So definitely, that's what we got going on in Mississippi. It's a lot more horrendous stuff going on in Mississippi. I know Uncle Selwyn and Miss Liz was able to talk to Miss Betterstein Wade. Her son Dexter Wade was hit by an off-duty police officer. I was able to tell that story from the beginning. And in fact, from telling that story, it's uncovered 215 other people that was buried in the back of the jail. You can't make this up, what's going on in Mississippi. We know Richard Carter. was found decapitated with his genitals in his mouth. His mother is fighting for justice. Just so much back to back to back. So I know all of us are grateful. And it all started with Big Floyd, the beginning of accountability. So we're all grateful to start to actually see accountability. It wouldn't be justice. Justice would be all of these people, loved ones being here. But we are starting to see accountability in this fight. And that's because of all of us, all these organizations, all of these people standing united and saying we're not going to take this anymore. So thank you.
This is a horror story. This is a horror story that is replayed over 2,000 times a year. This is a horror story that has been played over the last 400 years. And when we got on the phone last week with this young lady, and Marquell was telling us where he was going, and I'm thinking, no, he was like, Google it. These people murdered, killed 250 people since 2016 and buried them behind a police station. Would you tell me where the devils live? Sounds like they live in Jackson, Mississippi. Now, if you can grasp that, please help me. How can one group of people think that people are worth nothing? I cannot wrap my brain around that. When you talked about the young man looking at the guy that harmed him, the greatest feeling I've ever had in my life. I'm sitting in court the very first time they bring Derek Chauvin. I'm sitting 6 feet from this guy, 6 feet from Lane. I walked past Lane coming into the jail. I'm coming into the courtroom. And you talking about a feeling of absolute shallowness. There's nothing you can do but look at this guy that murdered your loved one like he was nothing. Had no respect, had no empathy. He took his life because of a power and control issue that he had within himself. And we see these heinous crimes continuously happen because somebody feels like they can be judge, jury, and executioner. Tell me, y'all, what can we do but fight like hell and not give up? Because there's so many people that don't know a Marquell Bridges, that don't know a Liz Darden, that are not like Vicki Willis, that don't know an Uncle Selwyn or an Andre. We talk to these people. We speak from the grave for some of these people. And we're going to continue to speak from the grave until we can get some kind of retribution or accountability for people's lives being taken for nothing. It makes me want to cry, Andre. I could cry every night and day. And to listen to Marquell tell some of the situations that he's been in, to listen to Vicki Willis' story, I'm tired of crying. So how can people do something? Do something. Being quiet isn't doing anything. Mail a letter. Get on the phone. There's so many ways that you can assist or just make an attempt. Because the problem comes when these people are afraid and scared and can't make an attempt. We know so many cases of family members that are so afraid. The young man that got murdered in Ohio last year, October, 13-year-old, he got murdered. His wife, his mother, didn't even have the police report until, technical difficulty, technical difficulty. Oh, snap.
Okay.
Technical difficulty. His mother didn't even have the police report until 4 months later. They didn't say anything at all. They arrested the guy, turned him loose. And 4 months later, a month, she called me and Liz, and she had no idea how to do anything, get any of her, get any of the stuff she needed to continue to fight in her case.
Right. And that's the commonality amongst all the cases, the lack of tools and support, having to conduct your own investigation. And that's what inspired me to go on this advocacy journey. When it comes to how we do, what do we do, Uncle Selwyn? It's not just implementing tools in the aftermath. It's about prevention, bringing awareness, and how we met Miss Vicky, you know, changing legislation. The medical civil rights bill would save countless lives. It's not even just the fact that people are abusing their power and killing innocent individuals, but the lack of, even with Tamir Rice, we were talking to his father a couple weeks ago, Cortez, and the fact that they would not summon care after the fact that they shot him. How many minutes? 20 minutes later? This was a child. They just killed, murdered. Why is it taking so long to go and subdue care for these individuals after the fact? Same with Derek Chauvin. There were so many other individuals there on the scene that could have interjected and prevent the murder of your nephew. There's a whole lot.
You see 4 people killing one man and they all got guns. Most people are going to be like in disbelief. But for you to cross that line is hard. Would I have crossed that line? Marquell, would you have crossed that line? That'd be a hard line to cross. You're watching them kill this guy, and they all have guns protecting the death master. So, you know, I don't blame anybody for not interfering in that because nobody wanted to die. So I am appreciative of Darnella Frazier, because without Darnella Frazier, none of us are here. None of us had this worldwide platform that we were given to make a difference or a change. But we don't need to start in Saudi Arabia or China or any other place. We need to work here. That's where our challenges is. How do we stop these monsters from killing our sisters and brothers, cousins, nephews, husbands, and wives?
You made a good point, Uncle Selwyn. I want to bring up the question. What is that fine line between helping and obstruction? You know what I'm saying? We brought back the scenario that happened with your nephew and the people that were standing along the sideline. What's that line between obstruction and trying to serve justice?
The buddy system.
Or even is there a line?
There isn't a line. The buddy system destroyed that. Once we have broken that buddy system, things will get better. And what I mean by that is, if me and you are in a situation and I'm seeing you hurt somebody, if I don't want to be involved in this, I'm going to say, Andre, cease and desist. So other officers have to be accountable for, hey, when you're driving, you don't look out for just the driver, you look out for you. So whenever we have police officers, they got to be accountable for themselves and the next person. Because if they're not, all police officers aren't bad. But in every pack of dogs, there's that wild one that strays off. You cannot continue to assist that wild dog in his actions. And that's one thing that we have seen that has came from George Floyd's death. You have some police officers which have called other police officers out, which have told them to stand down, which have told them, hey man, this isn't right. Because George Floyd and getting those 4 officers sentenced made a difference. Has it made enough difference? No. The no-knock warrant is still here in some states, which is a death warrant. If somebody walks in my house after everybody in my house has shut the door, if you come in my house, Andre, I don't know about you, Marquell, Liz, Vicky, I'm shooting. Because if your ass won't, if your tail won't in there when I shut the door, we're going to have some issues. And when they come in your house with the lights off, what are they there for? They're there to kill. They're not there to serve any warrants. They're there to harm anything that moves. You know, so man, there's never going to be enough. There's never going to be enough change. Like I said, change stops when we can all walk down the street, walk in a store, because hey, y'all can do this for an experimentation. Walk in a store with a non-respectful shirt on and see how they look at you. Walk in a store with a three-piece suit on. Hi, Mr. Andre, how are you doing? Hi, Mr. Marquell. I ride down the road on a beater car. They don't wave. You ride down the road on some of the cars that I wave. Oh, hi. Oh, that Negro made it. Why does it have to be that Negro made it? Wow, that dude is doing the right thing. Envy and hate is a lot of some things we got to address. Because if you hate somebody, that's vicious. If you envy somebody, that's just as bad as hate to me.
Can I chime in on the question?
Yes. I wanted to also let you guys know when I try to.
We're not trying to what? Go ahead, Miss Vicky. What you say?
I'm trying to tie it all together, wrap it up a little bit.
Got you.
Okay.
But to answer Brother Clement's question, I have a very, very different take. You know, it's our duty, and oftentimes this doesn't apply to Black people, but it's our duty to overthrow a tyrannical government. It's our duty to overthrow police that are killing people. So no, we should not watch them sit there and kill people. Is Uncle Selman correct? Yes, it puts you in a very dangerous situation by either intervening or filming. But we can't fear what's already happened. Mm-hmm. They're already killing us. They're already disproportionately locking us up. So what are we afraid of? You know, you can't be afraid of what's already happened. So we have to loose the spirit of fear, trust God. I would much rather for George Floyd to be here. His family would much rather for him to be here. So although we're grateful for the person that recorded, you know, somebody could have risked their life and just tackled him, you know, at the same time. And
those people aren't raised every day.
Definitely. I agree, but we have to duplicate them. I think we can't make excuses for people. I don't think it's never a wrong time to do the right thing. And often the right thing is not the easy choice. Is it easy?
It's definitely not an easy choice.
Is it easy to look at some officers and say, I'm gonna intervene? No, but I do it every day. If I see somebody pulled over, I stop, I film, you know, I walk up and make sure that these people are not being harmed.
Man, you crazy. That's some stuff Uncle Selwyn be doing, man. I pull over quick. Hey man, is everything okay here? Sure, stand back. Well, I got a right not to interfere in your investigation, but I can sit here.
Definitely. So just doing all we can and knowing that these ain't the easy choices, but I definitely, before someone loses their life, any decent person should intervene. That's my take.
Ms. Darden, did you want to chime in too?
I just go back to prevention, implementing preventative measures. You know, we as an organization partner with like-minded organizations that has tools in the public safety area, like such as DocDash, a tool that can be put on your car with all of your registration and information and medical needs. You could be a mute individual and they're trying to get you to talk. And if they just grab that's a magnet that goes on the side of your door to prevent tragic losses. Because the first family member that really pulled my heartstrings was Dee Crane. Her son Tavis Crane was killed 30 seconds with his 2-year-old daughter in the backseat of a car. They pulled him over thinking that it was a crack pipe that was thrown out, but it was a candy wrapper that his daughter put out the window. And it's just tools like that can help prevent these tragedies from occurring in the first place. You know, it's changing the system in general, but you got to be aware that the system is broken. But people are in denial because of the political climate that we're in.
Mental health issues. A lot of police officers are militarized. They need mental health counseling every month. And if you've been in war, if you've been in the Air Force, the Army, Marines, they're taught to kill. They're taught to shoot to kill. They're not taught to de-escalate. They're taught to escalate. And that's another one of our problems. You know, police officers are supposed to help. They're supposed to be peace officers. And a lot of them get carried away because they want to go home. Everybody want to go home, but everybody doesn't want to go to a funeral of their loved one. Nobody wants to.
This is true. And I think this has been a exuberating, thought-provoking conversation.
I want my $2 that you promised me.
Okay.
Okay.
49ers still yes to play. Okay. I wanted to so I wanted to just make sure that I did cover this information because it's very important to me and part of my fight for my son, Al Tariq Pleasant, who lost his life while detained in 2022. The Medical Civil Rights Act is a bill that is out there. It's currently hopefully being discussed in Massachusetts. I traveled out there myself in December, and I was blessed to meet Miss Liz and Uncle Selwyn while I was out there. The Medical Civil Rights Act requires the provision of emergency medical services to any person who experiences an emergency medical condition or who is medically unstable while in the custody of or in contact with a law enforcement officer. That includes people who are
mall cops,
detained.
Yep, mall cops, any interaction with anybody that's a peace officer, they have to assist them with medical attention.
There's no affirmative right in any U.S. jurisdiction except Connecticut as of right now, as of 2024. And what this does is an officer would be required to immediately summon emergency medical services. Now, this is something that we've seen in all cases where people who have been shot, they do not receive immediate emergency services, sometimes 20, 30, 40 minutes later, or never. When a person is in a medical crisis, communicates that they are experiencing an emergency medical condition or reasonably appears to be experiencing an emergency medical condition. So like the gentleman, Lord forgive me, I cannot recall his name. I just came across his case out of Texarkana. This is from 2019, where he's handcuffed in the backseat of an officer's vehicle, who she is literally telling him, you know, I'm still going to arrest you. You know, I'm still going to take you to jail, even though he pled with her about 15 times that I need emergency medical services because I don't feel good. There's a cramp going up my leg. A lot of individuals who find themselves in medical emergencies happen while in contact with the police officer. We have people who have asthmatics, people who have diabetes. They may not get their medicine or get proper treatment in the first 24 hours. They might have to wait for the medical staff to come on. A lot of these individuals are not medically trained, if at all, outside of CPR. So how are you to determine whether or not a lady is actually in active labor? And we've seen some situations where females have lost their unborn child because the officers simply refused to take them to the emergency room. A lot of legislators have been discussing, well, who's going to pay for the bill? And I'm like, everybody has health insurance. They made it a federal law. Did they not when Obama was in office? So we all have to have health insurance. Every state, every city has health insurance. So why not take the person to the emergency room? You're still going to arrest them. They're still going to be in handcuffs, even inside of the emergency room. So why not save a life?
Yes. Guess
and
what?
Pick up the phone and summon.
Which is cheaper, for you to use your insurance or for the state to give out $50 or $100 million? Think about that. I asked my sheriff that the other day, and he's like, well, man, the first thing I think about, who's going to pay for this? Well, first of all, your job isn't to worry about who's paying for it. You're not a doctor. And if somebody dies in custody, state's going to pay for it. And this is the crazy thing for those that are listening. They have, is it Nero's Law, Liz? They have a law that if you harm a police dog, if you swipe at him, if you touch him, a dog, an animal, and I'm an animal activist, an animal rights activist. A dog has more rights to life than a human being. George Floyd, Eric Gardner, Tyrese Nichols, a plenty of individuals, thousands, would be here with us if this bill was passed.
Right. And I think it's important to emphasize that this is an orphan bill. This is a vital, but it's been neglected. It was originally proposed in Massachusetts. And like Ms. Vicky said, it was passed unanimously in Connecticut. However, Massachusetts, it's a prime time right now for them to get involved and pass this bill. And then we're going state to state. Because if we were to go federal first, it wouldn't be a statutory law. It would only affect the FBI. It wouldn't affect your local police.
The local police officer.
I think it's mind-boggling to know that nobody has a right to request emergency medical services while encountering police officers.
And that's crazy. They can
Basic civil
approach
rights.
you, they can approach you and kill you, and there's nothing that can be done because they are an officer of the court. So there has to be a bumper. There has to be a preventive measure so people's lives can continue and they can die of natural causes and grow old and watch their babies walk down the aisle and watch their babies' mouths instead of going and looking at their headstone.
And thank you. I thank all of you for joining us tonight. I think we have done an amazing job. I don't want to keep saying amazing, but okay, phenomenal, exciting, thought-provoking. I hope that if you are listening to this via any of our social medias, the TikTok, the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTube, wherever it is that you are hearing this, like and subscribe and share. Can we once again, just for our listeners, for those who will hear this as the podcast without the visuals, and then for those who will see it with the visuals, but can you just please let us know your organizations that you represent and a contact information for people to be able to reach you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Uncle Selwyn. You can find me on Setting It Straight with Selwyn and Hope 929 with that person. Hit it one time.
Yes, that is correct. Hope929.org is our website. You can follow us. We will have updates of where we're going, events across the country. You know, we're big on implementing tools in the aftermath of the issues that we talked about today, but also to build a community and empower businesses and create a sense of self-sufficiency. So tune in.
Liz,
yes.
I got to say this. We have something coming, Andre and Marquell, that's going to be featuring somebody that's on the screen up here with us, called A Healing Journey. Stay tuned for that coming soon.
Definitely. Before I go, I just want to, I'm sorry, I just want to second what Liz was saying the whole time about being proactive and not reactive. That's very important. A lot of public safety systems can be implemented via having mental health professionals come instead of law enforcement and different tools like that. So that's definitely the goal, to get in front of these things. We know it's happening too often to keep up, too many names to say every one. So our goal is definitely to be proactive and preventative. But I'm Marquell Bridges, BLM Grassroots Mississippi, and Building Bridges for Community Unity and Progress. You can find me on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, with Marquell Bridges. I kept it simple so you know who you were dealing with. Marquell Bridges. Thank you.
I thank all of you guys. I do. It has been a blessing to have all you guys here with us tonight. I appreciate it, because y'all could have been doing some of anything. Y'all, I know you can have busy itineraries. Y'all could have been doing anything today, but you chose time to hang out.
Could be a mute individual and they're trying to get you to talk. And if they just grab that's a magnet that goes on the side of your door to prevent tragic losses. Because the first family member that really pulled my heartstrings was Dee Crane. Her son Tavis Crane was killed 30 seconds with his 2-year-old daughter in the backseat of a car. They pulled him over thinking that it was a crack pipe that was thrown out, but it was a candy wrapper that his daughter put out the window. And it's just tools like that that can help prevent these tragedies from occurring in the first place. You know, it's changing the system in general, but you got to be aware that the system is broken, but people are in denial because of the political climate that we're in.
Mental health issues. A lot of people, a lot of police officers are militarized. They need mental health counseling every month. And if you've been in war, if you've been in the Air Force, the Army, Marines, they're taught to kill. They're taught to shoot to kill. They're not taught to de-escalate. They're taught to escalate. And that's another one of our problems. You know, police officers are supposed to help. They're supposed to be peace officers. And a lot of them get carried away because they want to go home. Everybody want to go home, but everybody doesn't want to go to a funeral of their loved one. Nobody wants to.
This is true. I think this has been a exuberating, thought-provoking conversation.
I want my $2 that you promised me.
Okay.
Okay.
49ers still yes to play. Okay.
Oh,
I wanted to so I wanted to just make sure that I did cover this information because it's very important to me and part of my fight for my son, Al Tariq Pleasant, who lost his life while detained in 2022. The Medical Civil Rights Act is a bill that is out there. It's currently hopefully being discussed in Massachusetts. I traveled out there myself in December, and I was blessed to meet Miss Liz and Uncle Selwyn while I was out there. The Medical Civil Rights Act requires the provision of emergency medical services to any person who experiences an emergency medical condition or who is medically unstable while in the custody of or in contact with a law enforcement officer. That includes people who are
mall cops,
detained.
Yep, mall cops, any interaction with anybody that's a peace officer, they have to assist them with medical attention.
There's no affirmative right in any U.S. jurisdiction except Connecticut as of right now, as of 2024. And what this does is an officer would be required to immediately summon emergency medical services. Now, this is something that we've seen in all cases where people who have been shot, they do not receive immediate emergency services, sometimes 20, 30, 40 minutes later, or never. When a person is in a medical crisis, communicates that they are experiencing an emergency medical condition or reasonably appears to be experiencing an emergency medical condition. So like the gentleman, Lord forgive me, I cannot recall his name. I just came across this case out of Texarkana. This is from 2019, where he's handcuffed in the backseat of an officer's vehicle, who she is literally telling him, you know, I'm still going to arrest you. You know, I'm still going to take you to jail, even though he pled with her about 15 times that I need emergency medical services because I don't feel good. There's a cramp going up my leg. A lot of individuals who find themselves in medical emergencies happen while in contact with the police officer. We have people who have asthmatics, people who have diabetes. They may not get their medicine or get proper treatment in the first 24 hours. They might have to wait for the medical staff to come on. A lot of these individuals are not medically trained, if at all, outside of CPR. So how are you to determine whether or not a lady is actually in active labor? And we've seen some situations where females have lost their unborn child because the officers simply refused to take them to the emergency room. A lot of legislators have been discussing, well, who's going to pay for the bill? And I'm like, everybody has health insurance. They made it a federal law. Did they not when Obama was in office? So we all have to have health insurance. Every state, every city has health insurance. So why not take the person to the emergency room? You're still going to arrest them. They're still going to be in handcuffs, even inside of the emergency room. So why not save a life?
Yes, guess
and
what?
Pick up the phone and summon.
Which is cheaper, for you to use your insurance or for the state to give out $50 or $100 million? Think about that. I asked my sheriff that the other day, and he's like, "Well, man, the first thing I think about, who's going to pay for this?" Well, first of all, your job isn't to worry about who's paying for it. You're not a doctor. And if somebody dies in custody, state's going to pay for it. And this is the crazy thing for those that are listening. They have, is it Nero's Law, Liz? They have a law that if you harm a police dog, if you swipe at him, if you touch him, a dog, an animal, and I'm an animal activist, an animal rights activist. A dog has more rights to life than a human being. George Floyd, Eric Gardner, Tyrese Nichols, a plenty of individuals, thousands, would be here with us if this bill was passed.
Right. And I think it's important to emphasize that this is an orphan bill. This is a vital, but it's been neglected. It was originally proposed in Massachusetts. And like Ms. Vicky said, it was passed unanimously in Connecticut. However, Massachusetts, it's a prime time right now for them to get involved and pass this bill. And then we're going state to state. Because if we were to go federal first, it wouldn't be a statutory law. It would only affect the FBI. It wouldn't affect your local police.
Your local police officer.
I think it's mind-boggling to know that nobody has a right to request emergency medical services while encountering police officers.
And that's crazy. They can
Basic civil
approach
rights.
you, they can approach you and kill you, and there's nothing that can be done because they are an officer of the court. So there has to be a bumper. There have to be a preventive measure so people's lives can continue and they can die of natural causes and grow old and watch their babies walk down the aisle and watch their babies' mouths instead of going and looking at their headstone.
And thank you. I thank all of you for joining us tonight. I think we have done an amazing job. I don't want to keep saying amazing, but okay, phenomenal, exciting, thought-provoking. I hope that if you are listening to this via any of our social medias, the TikTok, the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTube, wherever it is that you are hearing this, like and subscribe and share. Can we once again, just for our listeners, for those who will hear this as the podcast without the visuals, and then for those who will see it with the visuals, but can you just please let us know your organizations that you represent and a contact information for people to be able to reach you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Uncle Selwyn. You can find me on Setting It Straight with Selwyn and Hope 929 with that person. Hit it one time.
Yes, that is correct. Hope929.org is our website. You can follow us. We will have updates of where we're going, events across the country. You know, we're big on implementing tools in the aftermath of the issues that we talked about today, but also to build a community and empower businesses and create a sense of self-sufficiency. So tune in.
Liz,
yes.
I got to say this. We have something coming, Andre and Marquell, that's going to be featuring somebody that's on the screen up here with us, called A Healing Journey. Stay tuned for that coming soon.
Definitely. Before I go, I just want to, I'm sorry. I just want to second what Liz was saying the whole time about being proactive and not reactive. That's very important. A lot of public safety systems can be implemented via having mental health professionals come instead of law enforcement and different tools like that. So that's definitely the goal, to get in front of these things. We know it's happening too often to keep up, too many names to say every one. So our goal is definitely to be proactive and preventative. I'm Marquell Bridges, BLM Grassroots Mississippi, and Building Bridges for Community Unity and Progress. You can find me on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, with Marquell Bridges. I kept it simple so you know who you were dealing with. Marquell Bridges. Thank you.